welcome to another episode of the Ssif Station Internet Football Podcast. It is Season 2, Episode 3, because I can count. I almost said 4, but then I remembered that one that doesn't exist.
Yeah, we don't talk about that one.
Of course, I have with me, as always, my constant co-host, Wyatt. How are you doing today, bucko?
I'm doing good. I'm not sick anymore, so that's Pog, and I'm clean shaven for the first time in like a year, so we pogging, other than being 1 and 2.
It feels like I can like rub your face like it'll squeak. Like
Yeah.
squeak, squeak, squeak.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's really shitty week in fantasy this week. Not just because we both lost, but also wasn't what I would consider a bunch of competitive games.
Yeah.
Although I did find kind of an interesting stat. Take a guess how many so there are 8 games where players do not have their first round pick. Take a guess at people's records in those games.
Like 8 games where the first round pick didn't play last week?
Did not play the week, in that week.
2 and 6.
The answer is 7-1.
What?
So Spencer is 3-0 without Cooper Kupp. Banglewood is 1-0 without Nick Chubb. Beans is 1-0 without Saquon Barkley. Steele is 1-0 without Travis Kelce. And I am our only loss, 1-1 without Austin Eckler.
Damn, that's
I
crazy.
was just doing research. I was like, what the fuck is that? Because I feel like we always like have this idea that fantasy is so much about the stars. And then this year, teams are kind of just slaying without them.
Yeah, there's been a lot of people that have just popped up out of nowhere, and obviously a lot of injuries, but there's always a lot of injuries, so but there's been, in the first week, there was like 3 or 4 people that got picked up off waivers that have just been popping off, like Puka and Kyron, and I can't think of any others, but I'm sure there were a few others.
Not to mention, I mean, there's quarterback 1 was drafted as a backup. I think it's still Kirk.
Yep, it is.
It's been a weird, really interesting year, but I guess that's what makes fantasy fun. Speaking of random pop-offs, I guess let's start getting into the games, because there was a random Beans 170-point pop-off that we should probably have a little chat about.
Yeah, that was, I mean, and like you said, it was without Saquon Barkley, but she kind of went ham, and I mean, it's in big part due to the Dolphins dropping a 70 burger, which was insane. So
yeah, so it's the 3rd highest scoring game of all time. The prior 2 were before Super Bowl 1.
mm-hmm.
It was the 2nd most yards in a game all time. The prior one was also before Super Bowl 1. So in the Super Bowl era, that was the craziest game we'll ever fucking see, basically.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, they had 2 running backs score 4 touchdowns in one game, including one on my bench, but we don't talk about that part.
Including one that had 2 points combined in the first 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really beat myself up about that too much, because I mean, it wasn't even a consideration to start him, and he could be good throughout the rest of the season, so we'll see.
Yeah. I did post that funny stat. He's 11th in odds for rushing touchdowns leader.
That's crazy.
Just like, what the fuck? Yeah, but it wasn't just Mostert. I mean, Devontae Adams almost scored as much as he did.
True.
And he's like basically a first-round pick caliber, because being picked towards the end of the round.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I mean, I think if Devontae Adams went in the first round, we wouldn't have been that surprised. Yeah, man popped off. Just
True.
absolutely slaughtered Pittsburgh in a loss.
She also had a 19-point kicker, which helps.
19-point kicker helps. Kirk doing his Kirk Cousins 400 yards in a loss thing helps.
It was the perfect storm, and I mean, she didn't really need it because she ended up beating Reeves by like 80-something, but
yeah,
we've all been there.
Sure. Yeah, we've all been there. I will say, unfortunately, I believe her score, if we adjust for modern scoring, is only 2nd all-time. Behind that crazy week in year 1 that Becca had. I meant to check that before.
I think in the standard scoring, she had like 155. I don't know what it is adjusted.
I'll pull that up while we're talking. But yeah, and obviously you talked about it. Reeves, he had an okay week, but really just
I mean, the only person that really, I mean, he had two players meet their projection or go above, and one was by half a point. So his team just really underperformed. But even if they did perform to their projections, like I said, it wouldn't have really mattered. So Beans just went crazy.
yeah. And I think if Reeves is gonna have a week where like C.D. Lamb and Brian Robinson combined for 16 points, or B. John Robinson, not Brian Robinson, this is probably the week to have it. I
Yeah,
mean, because really those are like the two most explosive players on his team besides Justin Herbert.
true.
And so yeah, I mean I kind of agree. It's just
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, in fantasy, it's better to lose by 80 than it is to lose by two, because then it's like you don't want to have a high scoring close matchup and waste one of your really good weeks on a peak week.
mhm.
So,
Oh my. Okay, so I found Becca's score that week.
hmm
In this score, she would have put up 191.64.
damn.
Holy shit.
I'm pretty. Didn't she have like a 30 something point defense or a four? I don't know.
It was it was fucking cracked. That's all I
Yeah,
remember.
it was
Yeah,
wild.
that was the game where Jonathan Taylor put up 50 in
Yep.
standard score, no PPR. Anyways, yeah, it's a crazy week for Beans. I don't know how much is replicable.
Yeah,
I guess that'd be the question: is like, can she keep it up?
I mean, Mostert has been a very big surprise. Not even just last week, but all 3 weeks. I don't know if he will keep it up because I mean, A Chain could actually. Did you see that he wants people to pronounce his name A Chan?
I don't physically know if my brain will let me do that.
I can't. The E at the end. I'm like that. There's no way that you pronounce that Chan.
Dude, he's just a fucking weeb. That's all it is. He's like, uh,
True. But yeah, but with Jeff Wilson Jr. coming back, assumedly off the pup list in week 5, and then with A Chan uh, possibly getting a higher role, who knows how that's going to work out? But he's been a beast so far. And then Devonte Adams, like you said, is basically a first round talent, and he's always going to have pop up weeks. So
yeah. I kind of looked at it again after I said that. And I was like, Kirk is. I mean, it's a little higher than his normal, but like, that's kind of what we've. That's going to be this season's Kirk Cousins probably. He's probably going to lead the NFL in passing, and they're probably going to go like 4-13.
they're
Um,
going to be playing from behind every single game. That defense is still so bad.
yeah. And honestly, they should have even been in this game if fucking dumbass Brandon Staley didn't go for a 4th and 1.
Dude, 4th and 1 on his own 25 with like a minute and 40 seconds left, and the Vikings had no timeouts. And he fucking go like
I saw something that
I
was like your win probability actually is higher if you go for 4th and 1 than if you punt it. But I'm like,
you can do all
I
the
just
analytics in
can't.
the world, but there's no shot that is the right play. Especially running it up the middle with fucking Josh Kelly.
Okay. Hey, yeah. Okay. This was a slaughter. Let's move on to another matchup. What stuck out to you?
uh, let's talk about old Kamish dropping to 1-2 to Mr. Steele. We had Steele ranked pretty low in our power rankings again, and he's 2-1. I don't know if he's one of the highest scoring teams, but he definitely found a good RB2 in DeAndre Swift, which I fucking despise because he did absolutely nothing last year for me. But that's okay. We don't need to talk about that. But I think Steele has a pretty solid team, especially with Travis Kelsey getting back to doing Travis Kelsey things. ETN's been better than I expected, probably better than a lot of people expected. Um, and then Amari Cooper, if he can get on the same page with Deshaun like he was this past week, he's got a pretty solid team.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of our doubts were the running back two. Um, he had Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift were like the two contenders for it.
And David
Uh,
Montgomery.
and David Montgomery. Well, I did not think that was the case, but the Lions insist on using the shitty running
Yeah.
back instead of Jahmyr Gibbs, and it blows my fucking mind.
Hmm.
You had 16 for 67. Brother, you had 16 carries. Do something. You. Like, okay. Uh, um. Yeah. No, I think his team is actually really solid. I think we probably underrated it. I mean, last year Steele also got off to a hot scoring start. He's only sixth in scoring
Yeah.
this year. Um. And he's had one of the easiest schedules. I think he's third easiest or fourth easiest so far. I mean, he did play the highest scoring. He played. I think we were sixth and seventh this week in scoring, or
Hmm.
so I guess like that's not it's not a terribly tough schedule. Yeah, no, I think his team's gonna be better than we put. Uh, I don't know. I still don't trust DeAndre Swift in my soul
Yeah,
because yeah,
dude. In another league that I'm in, I've been like going back and forth on offering a trade for him because I have a couple bench players that I could offer, and I need better running backs. But I'm just like, do I really want to go on this fucking ride again? I like if I trade for him and then he gets outworked by Kenneth Gainwell or something, I would just want to kill myself. So there's no way I'm gonna make myself do that.
yeah. Don't even. It's worth like not even having the points just for your mental health, right?
True.
Like at some point, men got to think about themselves.
Hmm.
Um, Another matchup I think is pretty fucking interesting is Becca. 140. Obviously, she beat you. 145. She was one of the only two 0-2 teams coming into the week,
Hmm.
and on the pod, I was the only person to project Becca, I believe, last week, and she didn't have the same like crazy performance that someone like Beans did with a 40-point score, but like all of her guys except for Rashad White and I guess Kyron Williams like performed pretty up. Like just had good games all around, and that's I think it's a really good sign for her, especially if
Yeah.
she for the future.
Yeah, I mean, Pat Mahomes basically put 30 points up in one half and then didn't have to play the rest of the game because the Bears aren't a real NFL team. Jamar Chase finally got on the same page with Burrow. T. Higgins from my team did not. He had another game with 8 targets and 3 points. So he has a
Another
game with 8 targets and 0 points, and 8 targets and 3 points. And I'm
it's
like, bro,
fucking crazy.
oh my
Uh,
gosh.
yeah, I mean obviously we talked about H on your bench, but Becca's also had some like Becca's bench actually. She has a couple pieces that look like they can stick around. I mean, Tank Dell was awesome against the Jags. Obviously, yeah, we
Fuck my
fucking
life.
hate it, but he was great. And Ford for the Browns, I don't really know who they're going to use at running back. He only had 10 carries and only had
Yeah,
18 rushing yards.
yeah. It was. I didn't watch the game obviously because I was at the Jags game, but from what I've seen and heard, he didn't look great. He just got 2 touchdowns. I don't think Kareem Hunt. I mean, I kind of think Kareem Hunt's kind of washed, so I think Ford is gonna be the running back one, but I'm not sure how valuable he'll be. But he could be. I mean, it seems like the Browns are gonna be a pretty good team if Deshaun doesn't suck.
Yeah, which I mean, he didn't this week. I think this is his best week. We'll get to that when we get to the other one of our 3-0 teams. But yeah, I think I'm really excited to see where Becca's team goes. Just she had a pretty tough year last year, and I don't know. I think I put her fifth or sixth. We both had her like fifth or sixth this year,
Yeah,
and I think that's definitely I think that's definitely like reasonable right now, even after the struggle in the beginning.
true.
Let's see. All right, pick one between our three remaining matchups.
We can talk about Banglewood against Dalton. It was another beat down, partially because Dalton is kind of like the Bears. He's not super real team. I mean, his highest scoring player was Dak Prescott at 16. So that's tough. I think he's averaging like 80-ish points per game through 3 weeks. Dalton's team is, which is why he's 0-3. But Banglewood, despite losing his 2 starting running backs, is has started 3-0. Zach Moss was a great waiver wire pickup. I don't know how the fuck he got that because he was the last in waiver order and nobody else picked him up for some reason, including me and you, but it is what it is. But if he can keep producing, I think Bengowood can keep on trucking.
Yeah, I mean, there is going to be the question of when Jonathan Taylor comes back. Reports came out today that he still doesn't want to play for the Colts.
Yeah.
Um, but if they don't trade him, does he play? Does he like split time? I think Zach Moss has shown enough to have some role, but Jonathan Taylor's just a lot better. So I guess we'll
Agreed.
see.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, his other running backs. I will say Eli Mitchell got the most work he's gotten all year. Um,
I hated
I'm
it.
really stretching. Kareem Hunt
Just
played.
talked about him being
Yeah,
washed.
he played. Jeff Wilson Jr. could come back, and they really like him in Miami. And Justice Hill is the least efficient running back in the NFL. So he's got a really solid
Tough.
lineup of running backs.
I mean, turns out when Nick Chubb and J.K. Dobbins go out for the year, kind of fucks your running back room.
Yeah, but I think the rest of his team's really good, and it's going to be able to pick him up wins enough to at least make it into the playoffs.
For
We'll
sure.
see how long his undefeated streak lasts, especially because he has a really tough matchup this week against Beans. But also I pulled a quote from in the Beans versus Reeves matchup from your comments last week that I forgot to
Oh, God. What did I
quote. I
say?
think this will end up being the closest matchup of the week. Good one. Clutch.
Um, yeah. Well,
Let's yeah, a lot happened. I think one of the more unexpected 2-1 teams is actually Biz, especially given her quarterback has been pretty disappointing all year in Joe Burrow. But she had a really good pickup of C.J. Stroud this week. I did not expect him to do. I expect him to be okay.
dude, he looks legit.
He looks so good. Um, so that was really clutch by her. She also got a 32-point defense,
That
which
helps.
helps. And she also played against B-Way, which helps. um,
Damn.
now I will say B-Way is not in the Dalton zone. Um, Justin Jefferson is still really good, and Brock Purdy can do things.
Yeah, through 3 games, I think it's Justin Jefferson is on pace for like 2,600 yards and like 170 receptions.
That's a lot of yards.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I felt like on the last game he casually had like almost 150 yards, and they just didn't really mention it.
Yeah,
Like, oh, Justin Jefferson caught another ball. Like,
and I
yeah,
did it again
that's
this
what he
week.
did. Yeah, there's just a lot of holes on this team. The Dallas
Yeah,
defense took a huge hit with
dude, what
Trayvon
the fuck
Diggs.
was that game? How did the Cardinals dominate the Cowboys? Like what? That was wild.
Josh Dobbs doesn't look bad.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
probably better than at least 4 starting quarterbacks in the NFL right now.
I can tell you if Josh Dobbs is on the Jets, they're probably 3-0.
I'll tell you if Josh Dobbs is on the Patriots, they're probably at least 2-1
The fuck
instead of Mac
Patriots.
Jones. I'll tell you if Josh Dobbs is on the Broncos, they're still 0-3 because they're garbage. But he's better than Russell Wilson. I think he's been okay. And like James Conner is having his
James
random
Conner
really
is
good
solid.
half a season,
Yeah.
and then like randomly he'll fall off and miss 3 games.
Yeah, he'll get hurt. Then he will like come back and kind of be okay and then get hurt again. That's
Yeah,
what he
we'll
does every
see.
year.
But I mean, he's been good so far. Uh, yeah, BYU just has Josh Kelly's been the biggest disappointment in the league after week 1, I think, arguably.
Yeah.
He popped off against Miami, and then people were like, "Oh, no Austin Eckler." But I think it
He'll
was a
go
really good pickup
crazy.
by BYU, and I thought it was.
Yeah.
It does not look that way so far.
He does potentially have Jonathan Taylor coming back if he ends up playing maybe for the Colts, maybe for somebody else. That could give him a little boost.
He also has Deontay Foreman, who was a healthy scratch this week, and Cam
Yeah.
Akers, who was also a healthy scratch this week.
Cam Akers is a little more understandable because he just got traded. He'll probably play this coming week, but Deontay Foreman being on his roster is a little bit questionable.
Yeah, and really his only depth piece that I really like is Jacoby Myers, but
He's
apparently
solid.
Jimmy Garoppolo got injured this week.
Yeah,
Now that Raiders are really high on Aiden O'Connell, McConnell,
I think
whatever
it's
the fuck his
McConnell,
name is,
something like
Aiden
that.
Aiden Connell. Um, but I doubt it's gonna be this good.
No.
So BYU is just hoping. Also, I think Devonta Smith was really disappointing this week, and he can expect better from him.
Yeah, that's kind of how it goes with Devonta Smith. He'll have dud weeks, but he'll have pop off weeks.
Final matchup from last week would be Spencer, the quietest 3-0 team in our league's history, I think. Uh,
First place right now.
yeah, dominating Brett. Spencer's team has been. I mean, he got a crazy fucking week from Keenan Allen, which definitely helped.
Keenan
But
Allen, the wide receiver one on the year, by the way.
yeah, I. And keep in mind, Spencer's playing without Cooper Cup and Alvin
Yeah.
Kamara.
Yeah, against Kamara back this week, Cooper Cup back the next week possibly. This team might be fucking disgusting. I'm not gonna lie. Even without Kamara, he has Ramondre Stevenson, James Conner, and Tony Pollard. That
Hmm.
is probably one of the best trios of running backs you can possibly have from a draft.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, Ramondre's been kind of shit this year. I won't lie.
Yeah.
Last week he was okay.
Zeke has been taking a lot more work than people expected, I think, which is unfortunate because if Zeke wasn't signed, I think Ramondre would be kind of going crazy, but that's,
Yeah, I don't know. He's also had really tough matchups. The Eagles are like one of the best rush defenses in the league. The Jets are a great defensive line. This weekend he faces the Cowboys,
yeah,
another really good defensive line. So maybe it's just a matchup thing. Because his one good week was against Miami, who's the worst defensive out of all those four.
yeah.
Um, so I don't know. But yeah, this team looks fucking loaded. I'm kind of scared. I guess we'll see how Kamara is. 'Cause you never know. And he missed a lot of time last year. He
Yeah.
could he could get hurt again.
And Spencer had Kamara last year, and even when he wasn't hurt, he wasn't great. So
Yeah, he
we'll
had
see.
one 40-point game, and if you take that game out, he was like the 36th back or some crazy number. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's
But on
yeah,
the other side, Brett's team, we had high hopes for it after week one. I mean, I think in the power rankings after the draft, I had him at two or three.
yeah, he ended two. That's all I know.
Um, and he's just, I mean, Josh Jacobs has been a huge disappointment. Brees Hall after week one has done nothing. Could be a matchup thing because Dallas and New England are both stout run defenses, but his team has been very subpar, and he just lost Mike Williams for the year, which is tough. Um, I mean, he played Jordan Love over Justin Fields, which helped him out, but I don't know. He's just been underwhelming after week one.
Yeah, I think it's his stars outside of Tyreek Hill are not producing. That's just that's what I mean. So he picks Tyreek Hill in round one. Let me pull up his picks because it's a rough look. So he picks Tyreek Hill, Josh Jacobs, underwhelming. Calvin Ridley, go week one, underwhelming since then. Actually, this week played like absolute shit.
Should have had a 30-yard dime touchdown catch and just shit himself.
Brees Hall, Justin Fields, Mike Williams, AJ Dillon.
Oof. That
Uh,
was a rough first 6 rounds other than Tyreek.
yeah, it's and again, I was with you on the hype for Brett. I thought his stars would actually perform. Um, I still think Calvin Ridley will, but I'm terrified of this Josh Jacobs thing.
Yeah.
He was a stay away player for me this year because I did not expect him to reproduce what he did last year. And then Brees Hall was also a stay away player, so in hindsight, why did I put him so high? I don't know.
I do think Brees Hall will be better because he played two tough matchups. He's still probably not 100% healthy. I think towards the second half of the year he'll start ramping up to how he was at the first half of last year.
Especially if they get a quarterback that's a threat.
That would help. So they can
Um,
actually not have 9 people in the box on every play.
yeah, I really think even Jacoby Brissett at this point makes them so much better.
Literally any quarterback. Literally sign anybody. Other than Trevor fucking Simeon, dude. What is that?
I saw that I was just like, that's what we're going with.
Like, oh my god. I don't understand it. I mean, it's
Jets
kind of
fans are cursed.
hilarious, but it's sad.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. I don't know. I guess he really needs his stars to perform. The Jordan Love pick was great though. He.
Yeah,
I mean.
that saved his quarterback position
Yeah.
because Fields has looked absolutely terrible.
Yeah. It's been really fucking bad. Uh. Oof. Oh. So in our pick'ems, we all picked Brett. All three of us. And I had the quote, now Spencer will show us all up by blowing Brett out of the fucking water. Really good.
That voice,
Really.
Fancy.
Yeah. So, you know what, Spencer? Way to fucking go. But you know what? That's the past. We're going to the future. It's week 4 time. Uh,
Damn, look at that transition. What a good host.
oh my god. It's almost like we've done 20 episodes of this fucking terrible show. Um, last week in Pick'ems, we're going to do Pick'ems again at the end. You went 4-2. Benglewood and I both went 2 and
Damn.
4. Pretty
Damn.
rough. Um,
Hype.
yeah. What is your matchup to watch this week?
I mean, I feel like it's gotta be Beans versus Banglewood. It's number 2 versus number 3. Both have gotten off to a pretty hot start. I mean, Beans just went crazy in week 3, so we can see if she can reproduce in week 4. But Banglewood, we'll see if he can keep outproducing his projections because I'm pretty sure he has destroyed his projection every week, and especially with his running backs being destroyed. Uh,
Yeah.
I mean, the projection now is Beans winning by 7, but I mean, as we know, as everybody should know, Yahoo projections don't mean anything.
Yeah, if you don't know that by now, you have not listened to enough of our podcast, because even we say it in our fucking power rankings. Yeah, I think this was the obvious pick. Um, I think Beans has a lot of really good matchups this week.
Yeah, she
Uh,
does.
Kirk Cousins against Carolina seems really free. Devontae Adams against the Chargers seems really free. Addison, if he keeps playing against Carolina again. Um,
Her running back matchups aren't great.
yeah,
Mixon versus Tennessee and Mostert versus Buffalo, but
but then Metcalf versus the Giants is another really good one. The Jets versus Kansas City, maybe not so much. She has Cincinnati's defense on her bench, and I think that's where she'll probably end up going because
yeah,
they're playing the Titans, who are dysfunctional.
true.
Um, love to see it.
Yeah, if there's one positive from last weekend, it's the Browns embarrassing the Titties.
Yeah, but yeah. On the other side, I mean, you kind of said it. Can Bengals running backs hold their heads above water at least? You know, just give him something.
Yeah, I mean, if Zach Moss, like I said, can keep producing, I mean, they're against the Rams, who have like a middle of the road running defense, I think. Um, he does have Mike Evans against New Orleans, and Mike Evans kind of gets shut down against New Orleans, so we'll see if he can break that curse. But other than that, he's got decent matchups, I think.
Yeah. Um, I think he's gonna need another really strong Tua game too. But Buffalo's been. I mean, Buffalo's one of the best defenses against quarterbacks, but they've also played Sam Howell and Jimmy Garoppolo and Zach Wilson. So I don't know what to
Yeah.
make of that, but their defense
It,
is really good still. I think.
it's kind of crazy to me that Buffalo is favored by 3.5 in that game. I mean, I know it's at Buffalo, but like the Dolphins have looked so much better, I think. I don't know.
Eh, I I heard the line at first. I thought it was going to be Miami by one. Um, it's not. I think Miami's had really low success in Buffalo the last several years too. I don't think
That's
that
true.
helps. Normally those games are towards the end of the year. I feel like normally they send Buffalo down to Miami early, and it's like a crazy weird game in like 99-degree heat, and
Like
they
last
send
year.
yeah, and then they send Miami up to the fucking snow. But this year they're swapping it up, I guess. Yeah, it's an odd one. I think Miami will still produce, but I think it's going to be closer to week 2 than week 1.
Not gonna be week 3, I can tell you that.
Okay, yeah, week 3 is never happening again. Um, yeah, I don't know. Who are you picking this one?
I'm gonna pick Beans. I don't think. I mean, Penguins playing Kenny Gainwell, who has looked like a backup. I mean, he was the backup last week. Uh, she's got good matchups and went off last week, so I'm going Beans.
I think I'm also picking Beans, just because I think our matchups are so good, except for running backs, as we kind of talked about.
Yep.
All right, I think the other contender for game of the week is Steele Spencer, uh, 12th and 10th in my power rankings. Some Mort. Yahoo has it projected really close. I
Yep.
think I think Steele is. I think he needs a good game from Lamar here to win out, but Lamar's against Cleveland,
And their defense
which
has been cracked.
the defense has been absolutely dominant. And I mean, Lamar kind of like he had a good fantasy game, but he didn't have that good of a passing game against Indy last week.
Mm.
He had really good production on the ground. Um, I think if Lamar can score 20, Steele has a solid chance, and if Brandon Ayuk plays. Um, but then I think Spencer, his running backs have really tough matchups this week as well. San Francisco, Tampa Bay, and New England's defenses. Not the
Jeez.
best slate, yeah.
That's
Uh,
tough.
but I think Keenan Allen's got a really good matchup. Deshaun Watson has a decent matchup. Tyler Lockett
Lockett's
has a
got a
good
good one.
matchup.
Yeah.
Kansas City defense has a great matchup
Oh,
because they're playing
Lord.
Zach Wilson. Um, so I think a lot of this is going to come down to quarterback.
Oh my. Spencer also has Ramondre on the bench against the Dallas defense. All of his running backs are just fucked by defense. And Antonio Gibson against the Eagles. Jesus. But
Okay,
yeah, other than the running back position, his matchups are about as good as it gets, and I think his team's just overall better than Steele's. I think I heard that Ayuk is supposed to play, so that'll help Steele, but he's got David Montgomery in right now, which I mean we talked about him earlier. He's got Washington defense against Philly, which is a tough matchup. Uh, I think I'm gonna pick Spencer in this one. He's gonna keep rolling.
I do have a before I pick. I have a or a question for you.
Hit me.
So Alvin Kamara is coming off a 3-game suspension. Not an easy matchup, not the hardest one. The Eagles had success on the ground. Judges have kind of popped off last week. Before that, Tampa Bay had been pretty good against running backs. Meanwhile, you have Ramondre Stevenson, your like third round pick on the bench against another good defense. Do you play Alvin Kamara coming off a 3-game suspension?
Hmm. I feel like I would probably play Kamara just because Ramondre's had a slow start. He's having work taken by Zeke. Kamara really doesn't have any competition with Jamal Williams out. Kendre Miller, the rookie, hasn't done anything, and he was also coming off an injury. So I think Kamara is probably the play just because of Stevenson's matchup, but it's tough. That's a really close one.
Even with Jameis Winston.
Fuck, I forgot
It's
Jameis
tough.
Winston was playing.
Yeah, because I was thinking about this earlier, and I'm like, I leaned this. I did the same thing. I leaned Kamara, and I was like, wait, Kamara
He
is like,
doesn't throw the ball to the running back. Fuck.
yeah, And part of Kamara's big thing is being a receiving back.
Damn. That makes me want to play Ramondre.
I don't know. I think
That's tough.
I'm picking Spencer, no matter who he plays. That
Yeah,
was
I
just a
agree.
fun like little. I was so Spencer's fucking wealth of riches over here.
Yeah, friggin'
Um.
running back kingdom over here. Good lord.
Yeah. I think Spencer. I think Steele's gonna have a good week, but I think Spencer's team is just kind of dominant right now.
On a heater. Wait, Sean Watson's questionable? The fuck?
I think he missed practice one day,
Ah, fuck him.
or I don't know. Maybe he got a massage. Uh, let's see. We also do have the matchup of the auto picks this week. Dalton versus
Oh shit.
B-Way. Um, Justin Jefferson versus Carolina, and
That's
Stephon Diggs
huge.
versus Miami. It feels like a shootout waiting to happen. Like,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I I don't know. What do you think?
Dalton's got Dak against New England, while BWay has Brock Purdy against Arizona. That's a good matchup. I don't know. BWay's running backs are just so bad that it hurts my soul. But at the same time, Dalton has Kyle Pitts and Drake London, and is playing Khalil Herbert and Garrett Wilson against the Chiefs. Oh my goodness! But no wonder these teams are 11th and 12th.
Yeah, he also has Najee Harris, who got a season high 6.5 fantasy points last week
Oh shit!
on
He's
19
going off.
carries.
He's going off.
19 carries, and he only got 6.5 fucking points.
I will say Dalton does have Aaron Jones on the bench. If Aaron Jones does play tomorrow, that would be huge for him to get Khalil Herbert out of the lineup.
I believe Aaron Jones was he didn't practice yesterday and was limited at today's practice or Tuesday's practice. What was
Yeah,
today? Wednesday? Yeah.
yeah,
So not a great sign to be limited the day before your game,
yeah.
but AJ Dillon's also been kind of shit this year. If, at least like from watching, I don't know how fantasy looks, but
No, he's been bad.
okay, yeah.
And B-Way has Josh Palmer already, and now Josh Palmer gets a bump because Mike Williams is out for the year. So his receivers are looking pretty good. He also has Elijah Moore on the bench, who has been solid so far, and Jacoby Myers, like we talked about earlier. Just like I said, his running backs are just what's holding them back.
I do think it's funny that Deontay Foreman's projection is .73. I don't know, like they're just like, all right, you will get 7 yards,
Bruh.
or one catch for 2 yards.
There you go.
Yeah, I think who are you picking?
Oh man, I think I'll say if Aaron Jones plays, I will pick Dalton. If he does not, I will pick B-Way.
I believe I am taking B-Way in either circumstance.
That's fair.
Uh oh god.
That's a tough one.
Over under on points this game 173.
I'm taking the under. Holy shit.
I'm at combined.
Yeah, I know.
That's 86 and a half points per team.
Yeah, I'm going under, baby.
Okay, Jesus Christ. I said it low, but he man still hammered the under. Yeah. God, fuck. It'd be crazy to see B-Way 2-2 though. It'd be hype.
True.
B-Way's also had a really hard schedule.
That is true.
Like
He's
he's
like,
third hardest in the league.
yeah, third.
Yeah.
I'm second.
Yeah. You, Reeves, Brett, and B-Way are all leading the pack in that front. I am
It's
not.
it's so weird how in the beginning of every season it seems like one team is just so much lower on the points against compared to everybody else. Like Banglewood only has 237 points scored against them.
So I saw that today. Bigway played Dalton last week. He played B-Way the week before, and he played the lowest scoring team of the week at Biz in week one. So,
Damn.
not only, I mean,
That might be
standings wise, he's had a good, easy schedule, but also he got a
there might
really
be some
nice.
regression.
That could be, especially with the running back issues. Uh, all right. What else do we got here? We have you versus Biz.
It's a spicy matchup.
Yeah, it could be fun. My question for you is, where do you get points besides Josh Allen and CMC? Like, I don't. I guess Miles Sanders, maybe.
I think Miles Sanders and potentially, I mean, Alexander Madison had a decent week last week. I don't know how Cam Akers is going to come in and change the workload at all because Madison's definitely like a volume play because he's not the best running back, but he gets a lot of work. Um, Other than that, I mean, I hope I'll get stuff from T. Higgins because he's against Tennessee and their passing defense is god awful.
Yeah, maybe it's like
Um,
an even odd week with him,
yeah,
where he's just like, or like some fucking horoscope shit. I don't know. It's like,
odd weeks he gets 8 targets and scores no points, and even weeks he pops off.
yeah,
I'd
odd
take
weeks.
that.
Odd weeks like the fucking Gemini is waxing or something. I don't know how that works, but um, yeah, yeah, I guess T Higgins is the answer. I guess if you win, and if you
Yeah,
don't win, it's probably Alexander Madison because who the fuck is that?
I
Um,
I've also debated benching Madison for Zay Flowers, but he's against Cleveland, which is a really good defense. Or going completely sicko mode and playing Devon A Chain again, or playing Devon A Chain, but I probably won't do that.
what do you mean? Now he's projected 10 points this
Yeah,
week.
he's
Crazy.
he's literally projected more points than Raheem Mostert somehow. I'm like, Yahoo, what are you doing?
Uh, I guess we should also add at 5:11 today. What time is it now? 5:24. So at 5:11 today, your trade went through. Um, for Sam Laporta,
It went through? What do you mean?
the
Oh,
veto
it didn't
period
get
ended.
vetoed? Oh, cool.
It was close. It was close.
Cringe.
Um,
Literally, probably the least lopsided trade of the season, and it almost got vetoed.
damn. Uh, yeah. So it could be different because Hunter Henry kind of seems.
He had decent weeks in the first 2 weeks, and then, but I don't think he's. I mean, he's definitely touchdown dependent, and I think Laporta will be a good upgrade for me.
Yeah. Also, apparently Philly has the worst fantasy defense against tight ends through 3 weeks, which is just random. I don't know.
That is weird. What the
But yeah, I think on business side, where is Derrick Henry?
I mean, this kind of happens with really good running backs who are aging. They kind of just fall off a cliff. They don't really kind of wind down and be like go from really good to like okay and then get bad. He might be off of his cliff, especially because the Titans are fucking god awful.
Yeah, I mean he had a good week too, but it really seems like he's uh touchdown reliant. He's gonna be touchdown reliant this year. They've
And they've
also
been
played a tough string of defenses, but
yeah, that's true. They've also been giving a weird amount of work to Tajay Spears, the backup. Like he's been playing like half the snaps basically.
they gassed him up all week.
Hmm.
So it's not surprising, or like I'm not week, year, all off season.
Yeah, yeah.
They're like Tajay Spears is a guy. He's a dude, and it's I guess it's not surprising. I really yeah I think you're right about the running back cliff though. But Biz really needs Derrick Henry to be good. I mean,
Yeah.
she didn't last week because Buffalo's defense scored like 35 points. But
I do think CJ Stroud could get a little bit of a like welcome to the NFL game against Pittsburgh because TJ Watt is going to be coming after that ass against a backup O line. Uh,
you think she
so we'll see.
plays C.J. Stroud over Joe Burrow?
Oh yeah, I forgot she has Joe Burrow. I mean,
Because
true,
Joe Burrow's against Tennessee too, and they've been pretty atrocious against quarterbacks.
true. Yeah, she should
Um,
definitely play Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
which is much better.
Um, yeah, I mean, the matchups aren't like incredible across the board. James Cook to me is really interesting too. He's had two
He's
really
been
nice
pretty
weeks in
good.
fantasy. I mean, they've been kind of because they've been ahead so far in these games, they're kind of just running the shit out of the ball.
Yeah,
But Miami's run defense has also been pretty terrible. So I guess like there's even though James Cook hasn't even scored a touchdown this year, he's still pretty solid. I mean, 38. He's like 39 points in 3 weeks.
yeah.
So, but it could be a big week for him, I think.
And her top two receivers, Debo and AJ Brown, had really good weeks last week. AJ Brown had a big bounce back after not doing a whole lot in the first 2 weeks. Um, so if they perform well, it'll definitely be a tough matchup.
This one's tough because I think hers has a higher floor, but I kind of like your ceiling a bit more. Just with McCaffrey could go crazy. I think Josh Allen's going to have a really good game. But I'm
That's what I
close
like to
enough
hear.
where I assume you're picking yourself. I'm going to go Biz on this one just to split. I think this is going to age like the finest fucking milk. But I think this is going to be the closest matchup of the week. If she plays Joe Burrow. If
Yeah,
she doesn't play Joe Burrow, it's you. So I'll put that
yeah.
fucking caveat out there because that is a no way I'm
I
picking
think
fucking CJ Stroud.
I think I'll go. I don't know. I thought about picking Biz just to try to get that reverse jinx in there, but I'll stick with myself. I think T will have a good bounce back week. Chris Godwin could have a good week since, like I talked about earlier, Mike Evans kind of gets locked down against Lattimore, but we'll see.
All right, I got two more matchups on the docket. One is me versus Reeves, eighth seed versus ninth seed. Um, Last week, yeah, we kind of talked about Reeves got a good Herbert performance and not much else.
Yeah,
And I, my team did not have a pop off, which felt like it was needed last week. Also, my tight end had 2 catches for 3 yards. That did not help.
that's tough.
That's rough. Uh, yeah, I don't know. What do you think about this one?
Talking about your tight end, I do think Luke Musgrave was a decent pickup. He hasn't done a whole lot, but from what I've been hearing on like podcasts and stuff, he's had a lot of opportunity. There's been a few like big plays that just barely got missed from like a bad throw or something. So he could be a good tight end option. But I mean, Justin Herbert is, I think he's the number two overall quarterback right now, and he's against the Raiders defense, who does not really exist. So that'll be another big performance from him, most likely. CDs against New England, which is tough. That's not. I mean, who's that corner that's been really good? The rookie.
Christian Gonzalez.
Yeah, he's been really good. I mean, Belichick basically always has good defenses, so it's always going to be a tough matchup. I was actually talking about Reeves, talking to this, talking about this to Reeves. I can talk earlier
It's fine.
about
This is a podcast. It's not a talking medium.
about Puka Nakua. I'm not. I don't think I'm as high as everybody else, just because in the first 2 weeks he was just hyper targeted. Like he didn't have super explosive plays. He just had 20 catches. And we saw that last week where he only had 7 targets and he didn't do as great. Especially once Cooper Kupp comes back, I don't think he'll be as good. But just speaking about this week, he'll probably be fine against Indy. But
Yeah, no, I actually agree with you. I think this week is gonna be more like what we see from him for the rest of the year. I think it's actually kind of good for him because his efficiency per catch is going up by a lot, right? Like I mean, and efficiency per target. Um, I don't, yeah, especially when Cooper Kupp comes back, he is kind of fitting into that Robert Woods role, which is for those Jared Goff, Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods teams. It was always like, okay, Robert Woods is gonna do his thing. He's not gonna no show the game. I
yeah,
think that's kind of what Reeves needs is a well, I mean, he needs a wide receiver too, sure, but like, one, there's a chance Jerry Jeudy can be that. I doubt it. And two, he has Christian Watson on the bench, who could also do that.
if he comes
Um,
back.
Yeah, my guess is he is not going to play this week either. But
Yeah, I doubt it.
especially on the short week. Um, yeah, I think Reeves, if Reeves gets pop offs from a couple of his players, we kind of talked about all year how his team is so boom or bust.
Yep.
If he gets like, besides Herbert, if if three of them have good weeks, I think he probably wins this week. His defense is also playing against Jameis Winston, which could mean touchdowns.
Yep.
Uh,
I
yeah,
think I think a big focus on this matchup will be the running backs. Bijan and Jameer Gibbs, obviously super high ceilings. Bijan's gonna get his work, but Gibbs, for some reason, like the Lions drafted him super high and just don't give him a lot of work. But we'll see if he can have a big week against Green Bay. That'll be huge. And then Brian Robinson for you is in a really tough matchup, but has been good throughout the season so far. And Damian Pierce has been rough, but maybe he can bounce back. I don't know.
there's also the Eckler factor for my team.
Yeah,
Um, that's yeah. Damian Pierce has definitely been disappointing. He did have a good week this week, but the Jags didn't show a whole. I mean, he still was only 14 for 31. It wasn't like. I mean, his offensive line's fucking terrible. I will say
yeah.
that they are horrendous in run blocking. But yeah, the the Gibbs thing. It's kind of like I always forget that coaches do this when they. It's kind of like with Dalton Kincaid, where they get these like high picks and just fucking refuse to do anything with them. And it's like, why don't you do you not understand how like did you not have you never played Madden? Like, do you not understand how your fucking like, resource allotment should work? It just I will never understand it.
Me either.
Like Luke Musgrave was drafted in the third fucking round, and he has more targets last week than Dalton Kincaid has all year. I'm pretty sure. Oh no, okay, no. Dalton Kincaid has 12 on the year. Musgrave had 8 last week. Oh, big fucking deal. Um, it just it annoys the living shit out of me because it
Yeah,
seems so
it doesn't
unintuitive.
make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, I am going in the reverse jinx. I'm picking Reeves.
I think I'm also gonna pick Reeves. His team, like we've been saying, just has a super high ceiling. Uh, it, I feel like it's either gonna be Reeves wins this by 40 or loses this by 40. Uh, so yeah,
Yeah, I am expecting Eckler to miss this week. Next week is bye, so I think they're going to keep him on the shelf. I think my running backs are just not good enough to keep up with Reese's. All right, the last matchup of the week is Becca versus Brett. Two teams that I did not expect both to be 1-2. We kind of talked about Brett's issues earlier in the episode. We also talked about how Becca is a player on the rise that could kind of spoil our picks for this week. But what intrigues you here?
uh, I'd be interested to see how Jordan Love does tomorrow night against Detroit. Detroit kind of did well against Pat Mahomes in week 1, and then the next 2 weeks, not so much. I mean, they played the Falcons last week, and they don't really throw the ball, so I guess that
They
doesn't
threw
count.
38
But
times
oh yeah, well,
because they had to. I mean, they were down, but yeah,
they
they
got
actually, yeah, they did.
they
They did force him to throw.
they got shredded by Geno in week 2. So I'll be interested to see how Jordan Love does, and Pat Mahomes. I mean, obviously he's going to get his, but he's against the Jets, who are very tough defense. So interesting quarterback matchup.
Yeah, it's especially Jordan Love first primetime or yeah, I think it's his first primetime start.
Yeah,
It's at home. He's looked pretty good every week. I mean, the first half of last week was really rough for him, but as against a tough Saints defense, like you said, um, I think the guy to watch here for me for Becca's team, I think Jamar Chase and Kyron Williams are the two guys where like I expect K9 to pop off. But
yeah.
I think if Williams and Chase both have good games, this could turn into a blowout. Just because Jamar Chase, they both have good matchups, so you'd expect it.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I would think Jamar will definitely. He got right last week. Had like 14 targets or something. I think he'll get another big game against a bad Tennessee pass defense. For Kyron Williams, he's another guy that I'm wasn't super high on compared to everybody else because he was obviously a great waiver wire pickup for the first few weeks, but the first 2 weeks both had he got 2 touchdowns. So I was like, he might be super touchdown reliant. And then last week he didn't get a touchdown. He wasn't very efficient on the ground. Um, so I don't know, he could go either way if he gets all the work pretty much. Like they don't have another running back. So it's kind of like a Madison situation where he's gonna get the work. It's just a matter of if he can get in the end zone. I think. But then another situation like that is Rashad White, where he's a very ineffective, inefficient running back. He does get some pass work from Baker, but Baker does like to chuck it like Jameis Winston. So her running backs are, other than K9, are a little questionable to me.
Yeah, I think she's got some interesting lineup decisions to make. One, if Jalen Waddle comes back into the lineup, it's
That's
gonna not,
huge.
yeah, because it's, I mean, she's gonna, if he is, she's gonna play Jamar Chase, Tutu, and Jalen Waddle. I would expect.
Yeah.
I mean, I think unlike we kind of talked about uh, Puka Nakua earlier, but I think Howell's actually been a little more stable. Just with the number of targets being like a real normal number, and his production kind of staying the same no matter what.
Yeah.
So I think those three are like locks for her lineup if Jalen Waddle plays, and then she really has a decision like Kyron Williams, Rashad White, maybe even Jerome Ford, if she wanted to go that route. She
Yeah.
also has Tank Dell on the bench, who we talked about earlier, but I just don't think there's space in this lineup unless Jalen Waddle doesn't play. Then you can actually play Tank Dell as a flex.
Yeah, that could be an option.
And on the other side, Brett has Nico Collins, who really did nothing this week.
Yeah, the first
Um,
2 weeks, Nico Collins was great, and then last week, for whatever reason, CJ Stroud just decided to throw everything to Tank Dell instead. so, so I mean, it could go back to being Nico being the number one target. It could stay with Tank Dell. There's really no way to tell, especially since it's a rookie quarterback and we don't have a whole lot of like data from him yet. I do think Calvin Ridley should. Hopefully, this might be my teal shaded glasses
you're
talking. I do
hoping.
think he's gonna bounce back this week. He might get in the end zone, but I mean, pretty much every game they're force feeding him the ball. He just needs to fucking catch it.
And stop
And
fucking false starting.
yeah,
I think he had
get your
three.
head in the game, bro.
Yeah. This is a tough one to pick. 'Cause I don't think it's gonna be close, but I have no clue what's gonna happen. Um, and both defenses, these are two of the best defenses in the league, I think. Philly and Cleveland, both with Cleveland has a solid matchup. Philly has a great matchup.
Yeah.
We just saw Buffalo score 34 on defense against Sam Howell.
Mm-hmm.
Last matchup question: Nico Collins or AJ Dillon, Nico Collins, and Brees Hall. You have to play two.
Oh gosh.
Because this is the decision that Brett's facing right now.
It's to me. It's it's like you're deciding between AJ Dillon and Brees Hall. I feel like you play Nico Collins regardless in the situation, but maybe you play AJ Dillon if Aaron Jones is out. But even in the 2 weeks that Aaron Jones has been out, AJ Dillon has not been good. Brees Hall is against another tough matchup in Kansas City. Their defense has been amazing this year so far. That is tough. I would probably say if Aaron Jones is out, I'd play AJ Dillon. If not, I'd play Brees Hall.
All right. I think I've always hated AJ Dillon, and, like the fact that he exists.
Yeah, the first year when you had Aaron Jones.
Oh my god! Fuck, I'm gonna flip a fucking table if you mention that shit again. Okay, let's pick this one. I think it's gonna come down to the flexes. I am picking Beckham.
I think I'm also gonna go Becca. I think uh, Brett's team just has too many question marks right now. Josh Jacobs does have a pretty good matchup this week against the Chargers, but I got to see it before I can trust it. So I'm going to go back as well.
Well, shit. All right. Somehow this turned into an hour episode. I thought it was gonna be like a Type 40.
Yeah, so did
It
I.
was not. But this has been episode. Oh, but 1 second before we end this,
Oh God.
do you have any take on the butt push? Because this has been a hot topic in Discord. B-Way was freaking out about it when we were watching the Eagles Tampa game on Monday, and today in Discord. What is your opinion on le butt push?
I'll So my take is I agree with Banglewood. It is kind of boring to watch. It's a little lame, but I also agree with I think it was Becca that said every other team is not able to do it with this at the same rate that the Eagles are able to do it. So it's like just get good if you want it to stop. Just figure out how to stop it.
Yeah, it's literally. We saw a stat in that game. The Eagles since the beginning of 2022 were 29 of 31 converting on the butt push.
That's wild.
Every other team averages about 50%. So clearly the Eagles are doing something right. I don't think it's a broken play unless your quarterback squats fucking like 550 pounds and has an
And you have
ass
the
bigger
best
than Weird Al in the fucking I'm Fat video. Like,
and you have the best O line in the league, or one of the best O lines in the league. So
yeah, it's just I am especially because my offense kind of relies on the butt push. I am pro butt push,
I was
especially for this season.
I was also a very big beneficiary of the butt push last year, so that might have a little bit to do with it.
We are both biased pro butt pushies. All right, now that we've settled this debate, you are not allowed to have another opinion. Never. That will do it for episode 3 of the SimStation Internet Football Podcast. Reminders, message me if you want to be on the show. We had a guest today, and they dipped about 5 minutes before. So, if you do, let me know. I know Reese is waiting for a win, so maybe he'll probably get that this weekend against me. Anyways, that'll be it. See you guys later.
Tough.
Peace.